Okie doke. Shall we get this show on the road, everyone? I am going to start things off by recording the session, like I mentioned. So we'll just click record here quick. Okay, welcome. Welcome everyone to our alumni panel, Buzzfeed style, as a part of our virtual open house offerings here at Santa Clara University. We are thrilled to have you all. Thank you so much for joining us. We were just saying earlier today how easy it is to be zoomed out at this point. We do a lot of Zoom meetings and classes and everything. So thank you all for taking the time out to have some fun with us tonight. It really will be fun. You're going to hear from some recent graduates of the university and learn a little bit about the wonderful things we all love about Santa Clara. So please feel free to kind of jot down questions as we go too. We'll open up the floor and ask you to ask questions directly of our panelists. The plan is to go till about 5:45. If we dip over a little bit, feel free. I know we advertise 45 minutes, so you can, of course, sign off and catch the recording later if we do decide we should keep going and getting more questions answered for you. But I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about myself and introducing our folks that are going to be presenting tonight. My name is Jenny Sullivan. I graduated from Santa Clara with the class of 2007, and I've basically worked for the alumni relations team since graduation, and I now hold the position of Associate Director of Community Engagement, which means I get the fun, awesome charge of connecting our alumni wherever they live, wherever they work, with everything that we have going on at the university. And with each other, of course. So once you graduate from Santa Clara, you know, the network is strong, the opportunities to stay connected are plentiful, and we really do have a family feel while you're at the school, but a family feel while you're in that alumni space as well. We have really passionate and involved alumni that support our students throughout their career at Santa Clara and beyond. Alumni love to hire other alums and hire other students. We often say Broncos love hiring Broncos. So that's an important note for all of you too. We do have a strong, career network out there as well with our family. And we also like to say that from the moment a prospective student considers Santa Clara, it really starts your Bronco journey. So tonight starts your Bronco journey, and you'll get to meet a few other stellar Broncos here. I am going to let them introduce themselves, but I would like to say hello quickly to my special colleague here, Zach Plaza, also class of 2007. He works on the community engagement team with me in alumni relations, and I'm thrilled to have him here with us tonight. So thanks for coming, Zach. And Parwana, I'm going to let you kick things off with our introductions.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. My name is Parwana. I am a recent grad. Like Jenny said, I just graduated in June with the two other lovely folks that are on this call today. I was a biology, public health, and Spanish studies triple major at Santa Clara, and so that was an incredible experience being able to delve into all those arenas. On campus, I was part of our emergency medical services team, and so Santa Clara has a essentially night response team that responds to any emergencies on or near campus, and so I had the pleasure of doing that for 3 years during college. I also had a full year fellowship and internship, one with our ethics center and the Santa Clara County Public Health Department, and the other through Harvard Medical School in Mass Gen. And so very grateful for those experiences. And I was also involved with the Ambassador Program and our Multicultural Center through the Middle Eastern and North African Club. Right now, I am applying to medical school, so that's a very interesting time. And while doing that, I'm involved with a couple nonprofits, so I'm doing a lot of volunteering and that kind of work as I send out my applications.
Thanks, Parwana. Awesome stuff. Ryan, we'll pass to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Parwana. Parwana and I were neighbors back in college, so good to see a familiar face. And Sahil, as I'm sure he'll tell you, is our student body president. So his name is familiar as well. So it's good to see everyone. Yeah, my name's Ryan, just graduated as well. We're all 2020. I was a computer science and engineering major with a math minor at Santa Clara. some things that I was involved with during my time at the university. I worked as a university innovation fellow for the engineering school. So that meant that I partnered with the engineering school to kind of foster innovation and entrepreneurship throughout the entirety of Santa Clara. So I got to learn a lot about the school from doing that. Um, I worked an internship during my junior year of college as well. So I can talk about the process of getting internships. I had them during the summer. I worked them during the school year, all those different kinds of things, what that looks like at Santa Clara. But probably one of my favorite things that I did was I went on an immersion trip to East LA, where I learned about homelessness and mass incarceration. And that was a really eye-opening experience for me. So that was something that I really, really appreciated going to Santa Clara and getting a Jesuit education. What I'm doing now, I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. So that's been a lot of fun. I started about a month ago. So it's been nice to have something to do and go to work every day, even if going to work is just getting out of my bed and walking over to my computer. So yeah, it's a little about me. But yeah, let me pass it off to Sahil. He can tell you about himself.
Hey Ryan, thank you. And it's great to see both Parwana and Ryan again. It's always good to see some friendly faces. But I was also a recent grad, class 20. I studied economics and entrepreneurship as a minor. And a couple of things I did at school, Ryan already mentioned it. For the last year, 2019-2020 school year, I was the student body president, which was a really weird time, but we can talk about that later. But it was also a great experience. I was also involved in the same fellowship Parwana was involved with as well, the Hackworth Fellowship with the Markula Center. Amazing experience. I was also a global fellow through the Levy School of Business, and I also participated in the Division I men's rowing team at Santa Clara for all 3 years I was there, and also participated in the Asian Indian Cultural Club in Tindish. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. And then now I'm working similar to Ryan. I roll out of bed and go to work on my laptop, and I'm working at Ernst & Young right now, work as a business tech consultant. And yeah, kind of just living this very similar life to Ryan right now.
Sahil, when you go back to work, meaning not working remotely, where will you be working?
I'll be working in San Francisco. So
okay, right on.
Our office there, yeah.
And how about for you, Ryan?
I will be in the Mountain View office for Microsoft,
Right,
so I'll be staying in the Bay Area as well. Yeah.
Right on. And Parwana, I know you're in the Bay as well, right? All three of you are kind of staying close to campus right now, which is awesome. We have a huge contingent of our alumni stay very close to campus, so that's kind of a neat thing to note for everybody, for sure. A lot of jobs to be had in this area. Okay, so we dubbed this our alumni panel Buzzfeed style because we're going to ask some questions of these three panelists, and they're going to show some signs whether they strongly agree, just disagree, or strongly disagree. And then we'll dive into their answers a little further. And like I said, we'll do that for a little bit with some questions we've prepared, and then we'll open the floor to all of you. So if you have questions, please do start to send them to Zach or to the whole room via the chat feature. And he's gonna help us kind of funnel those to Parwana, Ryan, and Sahil towards the later part of our program. So let's get started with kind of a fun one. I think this is a fun one because we all know the answer already. Did the three of you have to study a lot at Santa Clara University? Let's see your signs, folks. Agree. Oh, very nice, you three. Anybody feeling the need to tell us more? Tell us more about your study habits, where you studied, all those things.
I can take this one.
Thanks,
so in the stage you guys are at right now, somebody told me that there's 3 things you can do in college. You could sleep, you could get good grades, or you could party. You have to pick 2 out of the 3. So you kind of just pick and choose what you want to do at some point in time. But obviously it's definitely kind of like a work-life balance, so like being social and also studying really hard. One of my favorite spots to study was actually in it was like the basement of the library. So it wasn't like completely quiet. It was like a little social, but not as social as like the first floor. And that was like I would always like kind of like put myself in a little nook area, and that's where I usually studied the best. Or sometimes outside if it was just like warm. But yeah, that was how I studied normally.
It's a good point about the outside too. We have a lot of nice weather days, right? So there's a lot of outside spots that we see a lot of students studying. Parwana, Ryan, anything you would like to add to your studying life? No worries. Oh, Ryan.
Yeah, I just really quickly, I totally just echo what Sahil said, but yeah, I think the nice thing is like I don't think anyone at Santa Clara spends like all their time studying. Usually you do like a couple other things, but you're definitely gonna have to work hard, you know, in most of the programs that you come to here. There's a few that like, you know, are maybe a little bit easier, but for the most part, yeah, you're gonna have to study. Yeah, like Sahil said, it's a balance for sure.
Ryan, you might want to keep yourself unmuted for the next one because I know you're a pro at this, but is it easy to get an internship or job as a student at SCU? Let's see the signs. What do we think, folks? Parwana agrees. Agree. All right. Ryan, I am going to lean on you to go first on this one, given your experience.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'd say agree, but there's definitely a caveat to it. I think that in terms of like the opportunities that Santa Clara has for internships, there's a ton out there. But the thing that I always would tell people when I got asked about this was like Google's not going to come knock on your door and offer you an internship. Like there's not a ton of like necessarily like pipelines where it's like, oh, if you do this and get like this GPA, you're guaranteed this job. You have to kind of reach out and network and take advantage of those resources. So you mentioned that we have a lot of alumni in the Bay Area, and yeah, as long as you lean on those resources and take advantage of them, there's a ton of opportunities available, and if you put the work in, you will get something out of it. But it's not something where like it'll fall into your lap. You have to put the work in. But everyone I know who has done that has been rewarded. That's kind of my take on the situation.
That's a great way to put it.
To add on to what Ryan said, I think for me, coming into college as neither a business major nor an engineering major, I didn't have the expectation of having the opportunity necessarily to do an internship just because I didn't necessarily correlate that with what I imagined my career track to be. But I was incredibly lucky enough to have great faculty mentors that kind of guided me and were like, oh, this is this incredible opportunity that we heard about. And so I was actually able to do an internship that overlaid all three of my majors, which I never expected. They seemed almost distinct in themselves initially when I was kind of first considering that track. But through my internship, I think, learned about kind of the overlap and the intersection between all three of those fields, which was so incredible. And so exactly what Ryan was saying there, if you go out and look for those opportunities, there's so many faculty members who are willing to help you. Our career center is awesome with giving students that support. And so there's a lot of avenues for you to ask questions, get advice, and prepare yourself for internships, and then learn how to apply that to your life afterwards.
It's a nice segue, actually, Parwana, when you discussed your majors and your fields of study. This is the next question, so you guys grab your signs. Based on your experience, do most students change their major? Let's see what you think. Strongly agree. Sahil, strongly agree. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, and let's also just share with everybody what you study too, if you don't mind, so that people know one more time what your area of study was. And if you changed majors. So go ahead, Sahil, you first.
Yeah, so I think that like I would say people change their majors pretty frequently, or at least they have the luxury of doing that, I would say. So I actually started as a bio major at Santa Clara and really quickly changed to like business econ, just because it wasn't exactly what I was going into it for the wrong reasons. So the nice part about Santa Clara is like because you have like the individualized attention of like a smaller group of people, they're able to help you navigate like what you want to do more efficiently. So I was able to kind of like seamlessly like move through and make the transition towards like the business school and get in there and do that sort of thing because I wanted to, and they helped me make that happen, which was super helpful.
And you settled on what? Accounting, finance?
I was econ.
Econ.
Yeah, economics. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Parwana, Ryan, did either of you have a similar experience or have friends that switched majors during their career?
I actually changed majors. So I came in as a psychology major because I'd really enjoyed AP Psych in high school. That was something I was really interested in the future. I was still thinking medical school, but I came in as psychology, and it's very similar to Sahil. I walked into my first couple classes, and while the classes were enjoyable, it just didn't feel necessarily like it was the right fit for me. I think there's certain elements that I think I was hoping for from my education that psych didn't necessarily give for me personally. And so I changed the bio, and then I added public health at the end of my sophomore year, and I added Spanish halfway through my junior year. And so it was definitely a process, I think, to say the least. But what I will say, what we always do like to say, and when I say we, I mean like through admissions, Ryan and I were both ambassadors for Santa Clara during our time there. And I think it's the only reason I guess I don't strongly agree is just because sometimes it's difficult to jump between schools. And specifically, it's more difficult to transfer from arts and sciences to business or engineering just because logistically they're smaller schools, and so that is something to keep in mind. And so there's definitely students who do it. Sahil's a prime example, and so it definitely happens. It's just a little tougher. But if you're going to go the other way, so engineering or business to arts and sciences, a lot easier to do. But there is a lot of flexibility with that, a lot of support, and we also have a great, or we have the Drama Center, which has a lot of great advisors that can help you with tutoring and course planning and all the logistics of what that transfer could look like.
Great, thank you. Now, as we're nearing the dinner hour, or some folks time zones wise are eating dinner as we speak, we have to get to a food question, guys. We've got to talk about the dining hall. So let's get the signs ready. Is the dining commons menu pretty diverse, would you say? What do you think? Agree? Parwana disagrees. Uh-oh. Agree and disagree. Oh, Sahil. We're going to have to hear the details about this. And please, if you wouldn't mind, Ryan, maybe you will tell us this, but what was your favorite food? What was your go-to menu item? Who wants to start? Sahil, you go first. You explain that agree and disagree.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say to a certain extent, like the dining options, they tried. I would say they put an effort into to get like different types of cuisines. At some point, there just wasn't necessarily like the best consistency, and so that's why I said like they gave it a shot. But at the same token, like late night options were really kind of just like it's like pizza and like the same old thing that is always there, which is something that is obviously you're gonna have late night food nights, like we're gonna go eat something at some point at night, but that was like my main concern at school. Like at night, it was just hard to get a different variety of food. That was my, but I know Parwana has like other things.
Tell us, Parwana.
I mean, I want to start off with a disclaimer that the food, honestly, at Santa Clara is pretty good. Like, I visited friends from high school who went to other colleges, and considerably our food is definitely, it's very fresh, and it's not like anything's kept under heat lamps. So I don't want to say that it's all bad or anything like that. But I feel like I don't have to say this, but as you could probably tell, I'm Muslim. And so part of my faith means that I eat meat that's halal. And so going to college, I realized I was like, okay, that's probably not going to be something that's necessarily an option. Interestingly, Santa Clara actually, I think my sophomore year, brought halal chicken into the menu. But I know as a general trend, if you are someone who has more of a special diet, whether that's halal or vegan or gluten-free or anything like that, there's just a lot less options for you. And I think part of that is very understandable because obviously that those students aren't a huge majority of the student body. And so it is difficult to accommodate and to expect a school to accommodate. But because of that, I would say I think my diet when I lived on campus was essentially sandwiches and salad bar, just because I couldn't have a lot of the meat products and all that. So I think it just depends on you personally as well. So don't let my answer be the telltale for you. It was just my experience.
Thank you for telling us, Parwana. Ryan, do you want to share
Yeah,
your
yeah,
favorite
I can add to
go-to?
it. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think that both Parwana and Sahil made a lot of good points. Like, I think that there's definitely a lot of room for improvement in our dining hall, especially in terms of getting a lot of more interesting foods in there. But that being said, like the first time I ever had poke was in Benson, and the fact that I trusted the dining hall to give me like raw fish was not something that I expected going to college. So that was definitely a big surprise for me in a good way. Um, so yeah, I agree that the food is diverse, but yeah, I definitely also agree with Parwana and Sahil that there's room for improvement. My favorite thing that I used to eat in the dining hall was so there's these things called specials, and you'll see this at a lot of colleges that you visit or kind of tour and things like that. And essentially, like what it is you get like there's a different special every single day, and there's this barbecue special, and specifically the mac and cheese that they served with the barbecue special was my favorite thing. They serve mac and cheese like the rest of the time, but it was not nearly as good as what they had for the barbecue special. So that would be my favorite thing.
I see some smiles out there. That sounds good right now.
And to go back,
Mac and
my
cheese.
favorite food was the breakfast burrito with tater tots. Those are always,
Ooh,
and that's like something that came around like pretty frequently. But I don't know, something about the tater tots, like those are dank.
I'm gonna have to go check that out. Us staffers love to go over to Benson and eat too, so I have not tried the breakfast burrito though. I like that. Thank you very much, you three. We did have a little food-related follow-up question. How about spots to eat off campus? Any favorites or anything we can share as a go-to spot?
One of the absolute best Middle Eastern restaurants that I've tried is roughly a 5-minute drive from campus. It's called Achilles. Incredible food. Brian and Sahil, I think Sahil has gone there. That seemed like a yes. The food there is amazing. Oh, it's so good. So good. And the owners are incredibly nice. Whenever I would go, they would always just give me like extra food without giving any extra charge, especially when they know like you're a student and you come pretty often. They're incredible. So wonderful local business. If you guys if you're from the area, definitely check them out if you haven't. If you ever visit the area, come to Santa Clara, highly would recommend. I can't say enough good things about them.
Awesome. Achilles. We'll have to all check that out. I love it. Ryan, Sahil, do you guys have any to add?
Oh yeah, my favorite is going back to Poke's. There's this place called Poke Fish Bar, which is really, really good. I miss it. I still have, because we had to leave campus because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I still have like 3 punch card lunches that are like free that I'm just waiting to cash in on.
Yeah, Ryan.
I go there so often. So that's my favorite spot.
Very cool.
Parwana took mine, but I would say Achilles is probably like my go-to. But for late night, like if anybody is like I just the way I operate, I always ate like pretty late at night. There's this, it's a bit farther away from campus, but there's one close, like about like a 10-minute drive. Is called La Victoria Taqueria. It's super good, and I grew up in the Bay Area. That's something that like I've always had, and like I recently got introduced to it in college, and it's like that's like great food for late night for sure, or just in general.
You've got some other fans in the room here too, Sahil. We've got some folks from San Jose who know it and love it. I can tell. Yeah. I wish we were all at La Vic's right now. That sounds good, doesn't it? Okay, we are going to open things up to questions from others, and we did get one a little earlier about. Well, let's get your signs ready. We'll ask it the way it was asked of us. Does Santa Clara have a very competitive nature? A little bit more about the culture there. Strongly disagree. Ryan, what are you thinking? Disagree. Okay. Anybody feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I can say this one. I feel like SU definitely is a school where people are very, very ambitious and they want to do really well, and that they want to do on their classes and they want to do well in their future careers, whatever that may be, whether it's volunteering, nonprofit stuff, whether it's career in technology, business, medical field, whatever it is, they want to do the best at whatever it is they're pursuing, but it comes out usually in a much more collaborative way where you're getting a lot of support from your friends and your classmates and your professors. Like I had one class in college, it was an engineering class, and our professor was like, yeah, so like this class like is really hard, so I'm not going to curve it at all. Like if you guys want to like help each other out, like do that. Like if all of you guys can get A's, like it's never happened ever, I don't think it ever will, I'd be really impressed. But like help each other out. Like I don't want you guys to be stressing about the curve, do that for each other. So it kind of, I think it kind of comes down from the top where a lot of the professors really encourage collaboration and group projects. And then the students that come here usually, again, they're really ambitious, but they also, care about their fellow Broncos and want to help each other out.
I love that. Thank you.
I 100% echo what Ryan said. And I think for me, because I came into college being pre-med, there was this kind of underlying almost assumption that my classes would be hyper competitive and that my peers would be people that I would have to compete for to get good grades. But very quickly in my first intro bio and chem class, exactly what Ryan said, or my professor said the same exact thing. And I think it sets up this very productive and very caring environment that's very healthy, I think, because the high school I actually went to was hyper competitive. And so college was an incredible shift from that. I think it really showed me the beauty of just collaborating with others and having the space to do that, having that be encouraged. So not only wanting to do it, but having your professors and the general community say that is not only okay, but absolutely encouraged. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I was part of our EMS program on campus, and that EMS program has people from sophomore year all the way up until seniors. And so there's a lot of mentorship that goes on within that organization. And I know that also applies to other organizations that are kind of similar in nature, with people that are in it often having similar kind of classes and career goals, I guess, in mind. But we would pass down our books to one another. So the MCAT books that I got, one of my upperclassmen friends, after he took the MCAT, gave them to me completely free, which normally they would cost hundreds of dollars. He gave me his study guides, all of that. And then after I took the MCAT, I was able to pass that on to younger EMTs as well. And we have a whole kind of section in our office that are essentially, it's the give and take library. And so you could take one book and leave another. But I remember my anatomy and physiology class, there was a bunch of us in that class. And so we were constantly in our office, just studying together, sharing study guides, sharing flashcards and all that stuff. And so there's, I think, a very genuine desire for students to want each other to succeed. And I think I can't say enough good about that. So I'm very appreciative for that looking back.
That's awesome. Feels good to hear you say that. That's great. We have a fun one in here that I think would be nice to hear the answers. It doesn't really go so well with the signs, so we can hold off on those this time. But what were some of the fun things you did on the weekends to kind of relax and take a break from studying?
One thing that we often did, kind of like my friend group and I, is it wasn't a weekend thing, but it was actually a Tuesday night thing. There's like a bowling alley near campus that has like really cheap bowling. So I think it's like $4 for like, you get shoes and like a game for $4. And then like each additional game, I think is like $3 on top, something like that. But anyways, for like $10, you can play like 2 games and you're just bowling with your friends, and the food's really cheap. And it's just like a fun, like really fun, like de-stressor midweek that you can go do within like driving distance or Ubering distance. And it was just really, really easy to do and really fun too, because they made like the environment, like it was like kind of like dark neon themed, and it was just like, it was all super fun. So that's one thing that we did pretty frequently.
Was it close to Achilles, Sahil, this bowling alley? Sounds like that might be the perfect spot for you.
I don't think it was close to Achilles, but it's close.
Wouldn't it be cool if it was?
Yeah, we.
Parwana, Ryan, how about you guys?
Yeah, I guess that. But I feel like some of the things I like to do, I'm a big nature guy and a big hike guy. So I mean, a lot of weekends, like I just hang around on campus, watch football with my friends, hang out, whatever. But weekends where like I'd get off campus and take advantage of being in the Bay Area, my favorite things to do were either going on hikes. So there's tons of beautiful places around in the Bay Area, like the John Muir Woods. There's some hikes that are really close to Santa Clara, like Castle Rock and stuff, Santa Cruz Mountains. All that kind of stuff, Yosemite, if you're willing to go that far. And then I also am a really very big music guy, so there's tons of great concerts. So like my first couple years at Santa Clara, I would like go to the big name concerts in San Francisco, and that was a lot of fun. And then I started to realize that like a lot of the artists that I really liked, but that didn't necessarily have the bigger venues to perform at, a lot of them would go to smaller venues in Oakland, and those are actually my favorite concerts that I've been to while I was at school. So having those landmarks kind of around and being able to take public transportation or just Uber up to them, or if you're an upperclassman and you're living off campus, drive up there was a ton of fun. So those are some of my favorite things to do if I wasn't just kind of hanging around campus, taking
Yeah.
advantage of some of the stuff in the Bay.
Great point. There's a lot of concerts, a lot of cool stadiums around campus.
Yeah. Obviously, right now you can't really take advantage of those, but that was something that I did that was fun.
Someday, right?
I really, kind of similar to Ryan, I really enjoy the outdoors, and similar to Sahil, I was raised in the Bay. And so I spent a lot of my childhood going to the beach very often. And although I didn't necessarily want to tell my parents this when I was applying to college, that was something I considered. I was like, how far are these schools from the beach? Is that necessarily a make or break? No, but it is definitely a cherry on top. And so Santa Clara did have that cherry on top because Santa Cruz is a 30-40 minute drive away depending on traffic. And I went to Santa Cruz a lot with my friends over the weekends the past 4 years. And also another thing, I grew up a huge fan of Bay Area sports. And so there are a ton of really great sports teams in the Bay that, well, really, we have some ups and downs with our seasons, let's say that. But great teams nonetheless, great environment to be part of. And so we actually have an activities programming board through Santa Clara APB, and they'll sometimes put on specific sports night games where they have subsidized tickets for Santa Clara students to buy at significantly cheaper prices because they're able to cover a part of it through funding that they receive from the school. So I went to Warriors games, Sharks games, Giants games through that, but also as a side thing with my friends quite often, probably too often, but I loved it. Some of the best memories I have from college were at those games.
Really cool. Wide variety of things that we all did, over the weekends and just in our spare time. There's a lot to experience close to campus. It's pretty cool. We did get a really great question, especially for the folks that are just kind of at this point right now as graduating seniors. What made you choose SCU? Whoever wants to take that one first, feel free.
I could take this one. Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's like definitely something that you should always ask wherever you go, because like that was my favorite question to ask when I was touring schools, 1,000 years ago. So my answer, essentially, like when I was looking at colleges, there are a few things that I was looking for. So at the time, like I hadn't taken any engineering classes. I had taken one computer science class and I really liked it. So I thought maybe that's what I wanted to do, but I wasn't really sure. I kind of thought, oh, maybe business would be good. So I was looking for schools that had both really good engineering and business. California was definitely a plus. I'm from Portland, Oregon. So, I was like, oh, if I can get in the sun, get out of the rain, that'd be great. And then lastly, I actually went to a Jesuit high school and I loved the Jesuit education I got there. My grandma is like a very devout Lutheran. And so she had a heart attack when she found out I was going to, not an actual, she was like freaked out. I was like, oh, I'm going to Catholic school. She was like, you're doing what? She was not happy. But I really liked it. And so I kind of liked the idea of doing that in college. And so yeah, Santa Clara kind of checked all the boxes off for me, but I was deciding between like a few different schools and I really wasn't sure, what I wanted, which one I was going to pick. And what I ended up doing was I ended up actually going and I kind of messaged alumni from the three schools I was deciding between. On LinkedIn, and they were kind of in my area, and talked to them about like, what was it like going to the school you went to, and kind of tell me about what things were like. And the ones that I connected with the most were the ones from Santa Clara. So they were the ones, they had the best sense of humor, which was a big plus. I liked that. And yeah, they were kind of, a lot of them were global citizens. They kind of asked me what I thought about different things that were happening around the world, and if I read the news, and I told them as an 18-year-old that I did not, or I guess 17 at that time. So yeah, I was just really impressed with the Santa Clara alumni, and I kind of felt like, okay, like these are the people that I want to be like in 4 5-10 years. So hopefully Santa Clara can help me take the steps to get there. And so far I feel like it has. I'm really happy with everything that I learned from SU and all the friends that I made. So that was kind of my long-winded answers to why I came here. It really came down to the people that I met and kind of seeing them more as my role models and seeing that was like the best fit for me of all the places that I was looking. Yeah, and if you're having a tough time deciding between schools, that I always recommend that, whether Santa Clara is on your final list or not. Like a lot of you guys might be seniors in high school, you might be like seventh graders. I have no idea, but that's definitely a very helpful way to decide is talking to people from the schools and kind of seeing what their experience is like.
Definitely. That was a great answer, Ryan. Thank you.
To piggyback off of what Ryan said about the people, I was choosing between two schools my senior year, both of which were in the Bay. And I came to Santa Clara for preview day, which is essentially admitted students day. And I remember there were two things that stood out to me. First, well, I didn't know a lot about the Catholic / Jesuit / Christian tradition coming in. So that was a situation. So when I first came on campus, they kind of told us that some of the events were in the church, and I was like, sorry, the what? But I very quickly realized that Santa Clara was Jesuit, and I didn't know what that meant. But I remember when our previous president, Father Eng, was talking during our preview day, one of the things he touched on were the 3 C's of the education that Santa Clara tries to give students, both within classrooms and outside. And those 3 C's being conscience, compassion, and competence. And for me, I remember hearing that and I was like, I really like that, because a lot of other schools I'd gone to, especially being interested in the sciences and future medical school, it was very kind of to the point, very academic. But for me to hear kind of the person, like the leader of the schools, be so focused on kind of in developing these traits and these characteristics in students, that really resonated with me, because that was something those are traits I wanted to develop. And then later on during preview day, I had the incredible opportunity of meeting so you could choose different departments to go to, and so I met with the heads of the psychology and biology departments, and the head of the biology department at the time, who ended up being one of my mentors when I came to Santa Clara, he took roughly 30 minutes out of his time after preview day just to talk to me, just to see like what my visions were for the future and how Santa Clara could or could not meet what I was hoping for from my college experience. And so just seeing how willing he was to talk to me, and I didn't have any ties to Santa Clara at that point. I wasn't a student. He was just kind of doing that out of the goodness of his heart, that kind of showed me just, I think, the caliber of professors and faculty that are at this school. And so that was something so important to me in terms of choosing, because I really wanted to have those strong relationships with my professors. And it seemed like Santa Clara could offer that. And 4 years later, it absolutely did, because I found some of the best mentors in my professors. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's great. Thank you.
And then,
yeah,
for me, it was definitely a different route. I did have a prior connection to Santa Clara. My sister actually had just graduated when I was going through the application process of coming to Santa Clara and applying to colleges in general. And once I got admitted, I was in a similar situation with similar situation as Parwana, where I was choosing between 2 schools. For me, it was one here and then one on the East Coast. And for me, like, I had always wanted to go to the East Coast and kind of like start something new. But then I came to the campus, like for the first time, like really like actually came to the campus. And I wasn't on a tour or anything. I was just like walking around, and I was meeting up with one of my sister's friends that was still there on campus. And it's just, I don't know, you can't really explain it until you're there. Like, it's just like something about like everyone being around, like walking around the campus and just like being around the students and seeing them like just go about their everyday life. It kind of like, it was really like, it was kind of just like there, like this is like something that I can do. I could definitely see myself there, being one of these students walking the hallways. And I don't know if it was just like how I interacted with everybody. Like, it was really small interactions, like here or there, where I would ask someone for like directions, or see someone like doing something and ask them like what are they doing, and everyone was just extremely genuine, which I had never experienced before, like on another campus tour, which was, one, surprising to me, and 2, something I really enjoyed. And that's kind of what put the nail in the coffin for me and made me choose Santa Clara.
I love it. Great stories from all three of you. Thank you. We had one more question come in that's a good one for all three of you. A lot of other questions that we're hearing are very specific to the experience each of you had. So we'll likely set you up for easy follow-up with our panelists at the end here. So if you have some pre-med specific questions for Parwana, she's open to connecting with you via email and so on and so on. So this last one though, I think we'll let this be our last question. But when you were first starting at Santa Clara as a first year, what was it like meeting new people? How did you find yourself connecting with other Bronco students?
I can.
Sorry, Sahil, I should say it could go beyond, right? It's not just your first year. I mean, how did you meet people throughout your career? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the very first friends you'll make on campus are the people who are on your floor. And that's something that I'm like super thankful for. I lived in Swig, the traditional freshman dorm. So it was just like this big tower with 10 floors, and you have about like 20 rooms in a straight hallway. And some of my best friends from Santa Clara have been from the very first day when we moved in, and we were everyone had their doors open, and we're all just saying what's up to each other. And I can't tell you like how many countless nights there were of us just like literally outside of our rooms, just sitting in the Swig hallways and like doing homework or just like being loud because we could. I don't know, just like having fun. And that's how I kind of like started meeting people. Like you meet people on your floor, then they introduce you from people in their classes, and it's really organic for me, for what I experienced at least. And I ended up just meeting more and more people. And the funny thing about Santa Clara is like you kind of feel like you end up knowing a lot of people at the end of your run, your 4 years, but then it'll surprise you and you'll meet like 10 new people that you never thought you'd meet, which I think is like kind of like another special quality about Santa Clara.
To add on to what Sahil said, I completely agree with his response about his residence halls. I met my best friends my first year on my floor, and quite a few of them actually lived in the same house that Ryan did. And so I actually met Ryan through a couple of them, which was so awesome. And I think in addition to that, Santa Clara has a lot of opportunity for you to get involved outside of the classroom. I think that's honestly one of my favorite things about it. There's so many organizations you can be part of, whether that's academic, extracurricular, career oriented. There's a whole, or even like Harry Potter club, or I don't know. There's a bunch of things you get involved with. And essentially through each of these, you meet different circles of people, right? Because I think each one kind of caters to a different demographic and a different part of the student body. And so I think in each of the different organizations I was so lucky to be part of the past 4 years, I met different people, and that started from freshman year, but even up until senior year, like there was groups that I joined as a junior, and I met some now my closest friends through those groups as well. So I think the beauty of relationships in college is that it's essentially kind of like a tree. You start somewhere, you kind of plant your roots somewhere, and then it just keeps branching off and blossoming from there, which is so incredible. I think looking back and knowing that you have these incredible people in your circle to always go back to and be able to talk to, and be lucky enough to call a friend. And so that's, I think, just involvement is a lot of where friendship can come from in college, regardless of probably where you go, but especially for Santa Clara.
Yeah, it's kind of going off of what Parwana said. Yeah, I think you meet a lot of people and you get to know people a lot better through housing. But my advice is also always, get involved and try to do different things. My fall quarter at Santa Clara, I met a bunch of people and I don't remember like half of them. I was trying all these different clubs out and, meeting all these people, and nothing really stuck for me. It wasn't until like my winter quarter, like late winter quarter, that I started to find some things that I really enjoyed and started making some friends that, I'm still really good friends with now. Like people that I lived with when I was living next to Parwana. So my advice is, whether it's Santa Clara, which go Broncos, hopefully it is, or anywhere else, like it takes time in college. Like your fall quarter or semester, whatever it is, you might not necessarily make friends right off the bat. Some people do, but it's okay if you don't. It can take some time to get adjusted. The best way to kind of, help with that for yourself is to get involved and do try different things out and put yourself out there. Because that's how you'll meet a lot of people and develop those great friendships is if you do that. So yeah, I love the fact that also that, like Parwana said though, that you move around and you do different things because yeah, I had a ton of fun. Probably one of my favorite things also, it's not even an activity, was just living off campus with my friends. That's something that I think makes Santa Clara really special. The fact that everyone's living off campus and is right next to each other. And I think those friendships, those people that you live with your junior and senior year, those are some of the best friendships that you kind of carry with you after college. At least that's what I'm experiencing right now.
Well, and Zach and I can be the first to attest, working in alumni relations, that the friendships do continue for so many years, right? It's a wonderful thing, and you get the chance to connect via university official events, or we hear stories of people taking their own reunion trips every year as, first floor mates from their freshman year, or whatever the case may be. The Bronco connections are really strong, and great friendships are made, like you three just described, and we help keep fostering those relationships in your alumni world as well. So I think we'll round things off by, if the panelists are willing, maybe you can put in the chat feature an email that you're cool with folks following up with you about specific questions from your time at Santa Clara, because we had a few of those in the chat here. But we want to thank everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to Parwana, Ryan, and Sahil for sharing about your experience as Santa Clara students. I too will put my email address in the chat, and I hope to hear from all of you. If you're still, have a lot of questions that went unanswered about our alumni family, or really anything about Santa Clara, I'd be willing to connect with you after the event. But thank you all very much. And I'm also going to put in the chat feature our scu.edu/alumni website link, so that you can check out all of the things that we have going on in alumni relations. But thank you all. I'm just kind of letting you hang out in here for a few minutes so you can get the information you need from the chat feature, but feel free to sign off when you have what you need. Oh, it's not letting Sahil post to chat. Let's see. Parwana, Sahil, send me your email addresses and I'll post them. There we go. Ooh, Sahil has the highly coveted alumni email address. I love that. Here's Sahil. Oh, Parwana too. Loving it. Okay. There you are, my friends. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you taking time out. Great to meet you all via Zoom.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny.
See ya.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out. I just had to, one last thank you.
No worries.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Really, you did a great job. I so appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right.
Jenny.
Thank
I
you
hope
for
it was
having
fun for you guys too. We'll see ya.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.